Quinones. 2 hours to play with. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock straight up. Tyler P. on the other side of the glass. Producing the show, keeping us on the air on this 3rd of November, 2021. Don't forget the 609-445-1490. That'll get you involved into a Sports Talk, bring something to the table. You can always get social with us on social media at Rich Q on Q at 1490 Sportsbet. Busy show today. Corey Parsons in about 20 minutes. Fantasy exec. We'll talk a little NBA and NFL with him. Ryan Rothstein in the 5 o'clock hour with a little mixed bag, a little potpourri. I will get into a deep dive already in Week 9 in the NFL, which kicks off tomorrow night. You got Mike White trying to duplicate the success for the Jets that he did against Cincy. You got the Colts coming off a bad loss against the Tennessee Titans, already laying 9.5 to 10. And then really, I want to mix in a little NBA too. But you got a couple things. 2 stories today. Well, really 3 in the sports world. The Atlanta Braves winning the World Series. And I think for the I guess, for the lazy takes out there, because that's what happens now in sports talk radio. It's the lazy takes. Let me just flip over the newspaper and just see what comes out. This is not should Mets and Phillies fans feel excited that the Braves won the World Series because, hey, if the Braves did it, those 2 clubs can do it. This is not how far off are those teams respectively. The bottom line is, and I said this, I love the Braves in 7. We'll take 6, not a problem. I said this yesterday. I thought they were going to score some runs. It's exactly what they did over the Cheaters. But I'll say this. The Atlanta Braves just got hot at the right time, and that's pretty much what baseball is all about. It really is. The Houston Astros are a good team. Again, they're a really good team. But here's a Braves team that found their swagger. They lost Ronald Acuna Jr. They lost a couple players, but yet they still have some really nice players in that lineup. A perennial all-star in Freddie Freeman. They got a couple big hits, a couple big homers last night to start the game, and that's really what you look for. And then all of a sudden, boom, you rely on the pen to shut things down, and that's what happened. So I look at this Braves team, and I'm like, all right, Soler, a couple big hits. Freeman had the double. Then he homers in the 7th, and pretty much that was all she wrote. The Braves, they were able to keep Fried out there for 6, and he pitched brilliantly. The Houston Astros had to use, 9 pitchers, 8 pitchers? It's just the way the ball bounced this season in baseball. I mean, if you go back and forth, and you look at the first 2 games of the series, they both hit the over. Then you got a pitcher's duel in Game 3 and 4. You had the high-scoring affair in Game 5, and then you had the high-scoring affair last night, 7 runs, 7-0 Braves. They win it in 6, first World Series since 95, and there you have it. I don't think this is about the Mets or the Phillies. I think you just look at the fact that the Atlanta Braves were an 88-win team, and they won the World Series. So the Boston Red Sox went into the playoffs pretty hot. They got knocked off. The New York Yankees won, once again, a substantial amount of games because that's typically what the New York Yankees do, is it not? They won 92 games. They got bounced. Chicago won 93, arguably one of the best teams in the American League. They got bounced. Milwaukee won 95. They got bounced. The Dodgers and the Giants won 106 and 107 games respectively. They got bounced. You get hot at the right time. So congratulations to Atlanta Braves. I look at the Phils. I look at the Mets. I think they're far off, especially the Philadelphia Phillies. I really do. I mean, I look at this team and I just see you're wasting Bryce Harper's prime. You really are. They're not a team that's going to contend. Even next year, if you're thinking about it already, Tampa, Chicago, Houston, Milwaukee, Toronto, the Dodgers, the Braves, Boston, the Yankees, the Giants, the Cardinals. I'll give you the Padres. I got news for you, folks. The Philadelphia Phillies are going to be right down there with the Cubs, the Rockies, and the Diamondbacks. I mean, it's just, like I said, if you want to think about things that went right, hey, great. Bryce Harper might win the NL MVP. Zach Wheeler made a pretty nice case for himself for NL Cy Young. Ranger Suarez pitched well, but again, the same problems consistently persist. Bad bullpen, bad defense, lack of depth on the 40-man roster, and they have a substantially weak farm system. Till they fix that, they're not going to contend. So there's story number one. The other story, well, the two, both have to do with the NFL. Aaron Rodgers tested positive for COVID-19. And I said yesterday, grab that game. I had no idea this was going to happen, by the way. But I said, grab that game against the Chiefs and grab the Chiefs even. And I did that yesterday. And then what happens today? Rodgers tests positive for COVID-19, which, you know, it's a little bizarre when you think about it because the NFL pretty much has considered Rodgers as unvaccinated since the start of the season. And he had this alternate treatment plan to start training camp. And he was very judicious with his words, if you recall. I still can't figure it out, right? The immunity, how many tests you got to take. Even if you're vaccinated, you can still catch COVID, but you're not going to go on a ventilator. I mean, the whole thing, I just can't figure it out. And this has nothing to do with my opinion on if Aaron Rodgers should be vaccinated or not. That's not the issue. But I feel as though he's somewhat kind of misled, if that makes sense. And ultimately, he's going to be out. A big game, a huge game. And that line, you think when Rodgers goes down, and I heard the other guys talking about this on VSiN like a week ago, you lose a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you think that line will move about 2.5 to 3.5 points. That line is now 7. That line is now 7. So you're telling me right now, Aaron Rodgers moves that line 7 points? 7.5. Pardon me. 7.5 right now. I'll wait to see if that line keeps going up and up and up. And then I just might grab Green Bay because, again, think about this. I know their offense has struggled somewhat, and I know Love's going to have a whole week of reps. And you get a little more extra time. I don't really trust Kansas City that much. I might hedge it because I did take them even yesterday. So I might hedge it. And why not if that line continues to go up? So if you were thinking about starting Aaron Rodgers for fantasy football, you can pretty much forget about that. But I guess the thing that's going to bother people is if he was lying, right? Because if you go back in August, he said he had been vaccinated. And he actually came out and said he wasn't going to criticize teammates who weren't vaccinated. But then as reported today, he's unvaccinated. So your guess is as good as mine. So Rodgers not going to be playing Sunday. Not going to be playing, okay? The other story is the Ruggs story, which is absolutely crazy. You knew that the Vegas Raiders were going to release him. But I don't know if you guys heard this. He was going 156 miles per hour. 156 miles per hour. Folks, this guy's not playing in the NFL ever again. And I can tell you this, he's going to be in jail for a while. He's going to be in jail for a while. These felony charges of driving under the influence, resulting in death and reckless driving, could fetch him 26 years in state prison. Traveling 156 miles per hour, 2 seconds before the crash, and he was at 127 when the airbags deployed in his vehicle, which told you he tried to slam on the brakes. Not good, folks. Not good at all. Just a bad look for the NFL. It's, loss of life, and you just wonder why they just don't call for these rides. I get it. You want to impress, but it doesn't impress me because now you might be in jail for 25, 30 years. Your life is over, my friend. So week 9 kicks off tomorrow night. Colts are already laying 10.5 against the Jets. You got some very high lines again. I would actually tell you right now, and I hate to say it like this, because of everything that's going on, you might want to grab the Giants getting 3 against the Raiders. I'm not trying to say it in poor taste. We're talking, this is a sports gambling, sports talk station. Just saying it like that. They ton of distractions. As far as the Philadelphia Eagles, 4:05 kickoff against the Chargers. Chargers are laying 1.5. I'm leaning towards the Chargers in that one. And we already told you Rodgers is out. Kansas City's laying 7.5. So they're kind of your top 3 stories. Locally, if you guys want to tweet at me, give me your thoughts on the Ben Simmons saga. Because at this point, I don't even care anymore. I really don't. It does not matter, again, that the Philadelphia 76ers are trying to go out of their way to tap dance for Ben Simmons to get him the potential help that he needs or says he needs, okay? But it's just weird. Like, think about this. Is it not relevant to anyone? And I might get hammered for this. Simmons was demanding a trade for half a year. He didn't claim mental health issues until the Philadelphia 76ers decide, we're not going to pay you. I mean, let's just be fair with that. And the problem is, you find these loopholes in the CBA. There's a provision in the CBA that protects players' salaries for failing to render services if such failure has been caused by the player's mental disability. It's pretty simple what you do right now. Get him the hell out of town, trade him for picks, a young player, whatever you want to call it, and that's it. Move on. That's it. Move on. Because I got a player now that's rejected to work with team doctors. And again, what you're reading on social media could be a little misleading. But I'm done. I'm over it. No more. You're not going to get the martyr vote or sympathy vote from me. It's over with. So we got some NBA to get into tonight. You got a lot of NFL starting Thursday night football. Jets, Indianapolis, some good games this weekend. You got the Braves winning the World Series. I still believe the Phils and the Mets are very much in the back of the pack. I'll give you some odds already for 2021-22 season. Corey Parsons in about 5. Rothstein in the 5 o'clock hour. I'll start to dabble into Plant and Alvarez, some opening lines, if you will, on that. There's some movement with those championship fights coming up this weekend in boxing. 16 pass, the 4 o'clock hour. No, by the way, were you surprised that Odell Beckham was told to stay home? We'll get into that as well. 16 past the 4 o'clock hour. We'll take you up to 6 o'clock straight up. Keep it locked in right here on a Wednesday edition of Back Your Play inside the friendly confines of the AM 1490 Sports Betting Radio studios on this 3rd of November down the shore.